Well, I think it's safe to say ever since Star Wars was purchased by Disney, things have not been that great for Star Wars. It started out pretty decent as you had Rogue One, which was a solid movie. You had The Force Awakens, where a lot of people had a lot of speculation, what was going to happen, who's Rey, is Finn a Jedi? Lots of potential on where that story could go. And then you had The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker happen. And then since then, essentially, Star Wars has been relegated to a Disney Plus category with moderate success on some levels. The Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 was very successful, but since then has tailed off on its ratings. You had Andor, which had some critical success, but not in the ratings side. And then you had the absolute debacle of The Acolyte happen. And along the way, people have asked, myself included, how does Kathleen Kennedy still have a job, as it seems that she would just leave whenever she wanted to and was not being held to account for what has happened to Star Wars. But according to Variety here, Star Wars boss, I would say Star Wars saboteur, Kathleen Kennedy, is planning to exit Lucasfilm at the end of 2025. So we're going to read through this story real quick and give some thoughts on it here. So hi, I'm Jared with Capture the Magic. It says, Kathleen Kennedy, the longtime president of Lucasfilm, is expected to step down at the end of 2025. She intends to retire after her current contract ends, according to a source with knowledge of her plans. A separate source close to Kennedy, however, dismissed the initial report by Puck as pure speculation and said nothing has been decided. Kennedy joined Lucasfilm in 2012 as co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas. Shortly after, Lucas exited his post as Disney acquired the company for $4 billion, and Kennedy was elevated to president. Mind you, George Lucas handpicked her to run Lucasfilm, which probably makes it actually a little bit worse overall. She is credited with reviving the property by launching the sequel trilogy. Beginning in 2015, Star Wars The Force Awakens, as well as the critically acclaimed 2016 spinoff Rogue One. Kennedy has also charted a future for the franchise on streaming with television series such as The Mandalorian and Andor. However, her future with the company behind Star Wars has been a source of speculation over the years. The Force Awakens remains the highest grossing film in domestic box office history with $936 million and $2 billion globally, but the triad of Skywalker-centric blockbusters experienced diminishing returns. Rise of Skywalker capped off the trilogy in 2019 with a still impressive $1 billion, albeit half as much as The Force Awakens earned a few years earlier. When you have a trilogy and your third installment makes half of what the first one did, that is not a great thing, especially when you're talking about Star Wars. There should be, the last movie in a trilogy should be the one that everybody's wanting to go see. Think about Endgame. That was one of the most successful movies ever, one of the most hyped movies ever, partially because of what was built up to it, and that was the ending of it. People are very interested in how something wraps up. So the fact that it had half of that is kind of definitely shows you where the interest of Star Wars went after essentially The Last Jedi. That may not have been a big deal, but it came a year after the financial failure of 2018's Solo, a Star Wars story, which became the first Star Wars movie to ever lose money in its theatrical run. It did bad because of The Last Jedi. A lot of people, Solo came out after The Last Jedi. Star Wars fans were mad and basically didn't go see the movie as part of the reason as to why that movie did so bad. At Lucasfilm, Kennedy also oversaw 2023's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the fifth and final film in the Harrison Ford-led series. The action-adventure, which relaunched the property after 15 years, was a catastrophic failure. Completely agree. Dial of Destiny generated $383 million globally against a $295 million budget, ultimately losing around $140 million for the studio. And again, like a lot of Disney things, that budget was rumored to be much higher than what is maybe reported there, but either way, Dial of Destiny not only didn't do well, it was not a good Indiana Jones movie. And I love Indiana Jones, but I only recognize the original trilogy. Those three movies are some of the best movies ever made, and the other movies to me are fan fiction and don't exist. At least in my head canon, that's how I like to say. The Last Crusade, they rode off into the sunset, and that's how it ended. Star Wars has struggled to return to the big screen since Rise of Skywalker, though not for lack of trying on the studio side. In the years since, Lucasfilm has announced several Star Wars projects by such filmmakers as James Mangold, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, Taika Waititi, and Donald Glover, but none have come to fruition yet. Meanwhile, new takes on the space opera series from Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins, Marvel producer Kevin Feige, The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson, and Game of Thrones creators David Benioff and D.B. Weiss were shelved for various reasons. Yes, that is the other problem that they've had, is announcing things that don't come to fruition and then trying to act like it didn't happen. But they have. These things were announced. And technically, Kathleen Kennedy still says Rian Johnson's trilogy is still something that could happen. They have actually not come out and said that movie is not, or those movies aren't going to happen, when it's very clear that it's just not going to happen. Lucasfilm has plans to eventually reintroduce itself to movie theaters. The Mandalorian and Grogu, a continuation of the Disney Plus series about the helmet-wearing bounty hunter played by Pedro Pascal, is set for theatrical release in 2026, while X-Men alum Simon Kinberg is reportedly developing a new Star Wars trilogy. I have some questions about the Mandalorian Grogu in terms of a movie essentially being the fourth season. I don't know how it's going to do. I'm not going to be surprised if it doesn't do well, but it could have enough of a fan base out there to do pretty decent. I honestly just don't know where it's going to, how it's going to perform, but I do find the idea of the movie a strange one in that you're essentially taking season 4 of The Mandalorian and turning it into a movie. This is something that Disney also did with Moana 2 that was going to be a Disney Plus movie or a Disney Plus show and turned that into a movie, and that one did very well. So this is seemingly something that Disney's looking at doing with some Disney Plus properties, perhaps, of actually making some money at the box office before it ends up on Disney Plus. Now, in terms of, is Kathleen Kennedy going to leave? Who knows? I mean, the fact that it's being written in Variety, I guess, gives it some credence here, although there are people internally that have said that this isn't going to happen. So she actually hasn't said that she is going to step down. I've said for a long time, Kathleen Kennedy will step down whenever she wants to step down. For whatever reason, she is untouchable, seemingly, and when she's done, that's when she'll be done. She won't be fired. But I think the more important thing is, even if she does step down, I don't think this changes anything with Lucasfilm. I don't think this changes anything with Star Wars, because more than likely, whoever's in Lucasfilm now are people that Kathleen Kennedy wanted in there that had the same vision for Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And don't forget Willow, by the way. Willow was a Disney Plus show that was so bad they took it off of Disney Plus. And I think her tenure is an absolute failure, if I'm being quite honest. And I've heard rumors out there saying that Kathleen Kennedy wants to leave on a high note. I guess she could be looking at something that could do well for them. So whether or not this is true or not, personally speaking, I don't much care. It might be true. It may not be true, because Kathleen Kennedy being there or being gone is not going to change the direction of Lucasfilm. Whoever takes over that role more than likely is just going to be someone that thinks just like Kathleen Kennedy. But either way, Kathleen Kennedy is never going to be fired, and she will walk away when she wants to walk away. And when she walks away, frustratingly enough, she will be given awards, and there will be ceremonies in her honor, and they will herald her as some sort of, major Hollywood success figure, and probably name award shows after her sometime in the future. But that's just my 2 cents on it here. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of theme parks and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, do you think Kathleen Kennedy is going to exit Lucasfilm by the end of this year? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.